is Gemara in Kesubos Daf Yomi Daled, and we're holding on the very, very bottom of Yud Gimel and Beis as we close in on the first parak of this fabulous Masechta, which will finish the parak in Mirz Hashem tomorrow. Says the Gemara on the last line of Yud Gimel and Beis, there was an engaged couple. They did Erusin, so there was an Arus and his Arusa, the man and wife. Again, they didn't do full Nisuin, they didn't do the Chuppah, but they did Erusin. To Asli Kamei Rav Yosef, they came in front of Rav Yosef. He Amra, she said, Minei, I'm pregnant from him, from my Arusa. Again, they're forbidden to have relations after Erusin, but she's saying it was from no one else, it was at least from him. And what does the husband respond? In Minai, indeed, it was from me. So we have a court case over here that a woman who's pregnant, she's not married yet, and she's claiming that the fetus, that the child, the unborn child, is from her husband-to-be, and the husband saying it's true, it is from me. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Yosef on the top of Yudalad B'Amar Aleph, what's the concern? Chad, the number one, the Kamaitav. Number one, he admitted that it's from me. And number two, we know back in the Mishnah, we pass like Rav Gamliel that she is Naaman. She has a taina of Bari. She isn't believed. So says Rav Yosef, there's two reasons here she believed. Number one, he admitted, and number two, that she is always believed like Rav Gamliel. Says the Gemara, Amalei Abaya, says Abayo Baha, but in this case, Kiloi Moida Machshir Rav Gamliel. Are you going to tell me, you Abayi, Rav Yosef are insinuating that there are two reasons why she's believed? Number one, because the husband admitted. Number two, because of Rav Gamliel, which means that Rav Gamliel on its own, without the husband admitting, sounds like would be enough for her to be believed. Asks Abayi, is that true? V'Amalei Shmuel, 5 lines from the top, the Rav Yehuda, Shidina, you sharp one. Halachic Rav Gamliel, va'atzloi tavid ovda. We pass like Rav Gamliel, but you should never do a case like Rav Gamliel at the roiv kishem etzla. Says Shmuel, don't pass like Rav Gamliel unless there's a roiv, unless there's a majority. V'hacha roiv psulim etzla. Here most are puzzle. Why are most puzzle? Look at Rashi in the second line, because they did Erusin. In a normal case, you live in a Jewish town, it's true. It's roiv kisherim. But over here, once you did Erusin, what does Erusin mean? It means they're bound together. That means that they have to get married, and therefore she's usher to the rest of the world. So says the Gemara, in this case, maybe she would not have a believability because the whole world is puzzle to her because she's only mutter to her husband. So Rav Yosef says back, according to what you're saying, Tikshla Gufa, let's ask inherently on Rav Yehuda's statement. Halacha. What does that mean? That we pass like Rav Gamliel, but never do that way. What does that mean? What do you have to explain those words? Don't do it unless. Make it dummy in our cases like b'diavad, and that is the reason why Rav Yosef said there's two different reasons why the woman is believed. Number one, because the husband admits it. Number two, because she has amanas onto her own. Asks the Gemara, Rami le Abaya le Rabba, asks Abaya to Rabba about 10 lines down, Yudal and Aleph. First word of the line is Rami. Now we're going to go into the opinion of Rav Yeshua. Rav Yeshua in the Mishnah taught us that she is not believed, that she's not allowed to marry a kohen. That was Rav Yeshua's opinion. Asks Abaye, V'raminu, I'll ask you a contradiction. Hey, Rav Yeshua, Rav Yehuda ben Beseir, Almanas Isa, Shiksher Lekuna. They paskin that Almanas Isa, what's an Almanas Isa, an Almana that we're not sure her status, she's allowed to marry a kohen. So Rashi over here paints a picture, it's a little bit of a complicated picture, but to make it very simple, the halacha is if a grusha marries a kohen, which is forbidden, a kohen is not allowed to marry a divorcee, the child has a din called a chalal, and the din of a chalal is they're kosher, but that chalal is not allowed to marry a kohen. So it says, what happened over here? We have a woman is married to a man and she's not sure if she got divorced. She's not sure. He tried to give her a get. We're not sure if she accepted it, etc. Then that husband died. So she's what we'll call a doubt whether she's divorced or whether she's a widow. She then went and married a kohen. So now we're not sure. is that union kosher or not? If she's divorced, she's not allowed to marry the kohen. If she's a widow, she's allowed to marry a kohen. Now they have a child. That child is a safek chalal. We're not sure, can that child marry a kohen? So in that case, on that almanas isa, on this safek, the kid, what do they say? On the woman who slept with the safek chalal, she kshira lekuna, she's allowed to marry the kuna. So what do we see? We see that Rav Yeshua is going with her chazaka, and the chazaka is allowing her to marry kuna. We said in the Mishnah, Rav Yeshua holds, we don't believe her, we don't go with her chazaka. We see here, yes. Amar lei, he responds to Abaye, Hachi Ashta, what's your question? Hasamisha nisis baidakas v'nisis. In a case of nisuin, of marriage, we assume that when they got married, the woman ascertained that her husband was kosher, and that's why we allow her chazaka to win, and we allow her to marry into the kuna. But Hacha, in our case, the Mishnah Isha Mizana, baidakas umizana, we're discussing a woman who is mizana. So are you telling me she's going to look into the guy she's mizana to? It's not the same case, so there is no question. Amar Rava continues, Rav Yeshua kasha. Says Rava, is there a kasha only on Rav Yeshua, to Rav Gamliel like kasha? What's bothering you? Asks Rava 1 minute. Fakatani Seifa, what did the Seifa say? Omran Rav Gamliel kibanu edasechem. Rav Gamliel said that we accept your testimony, we believe what you're saying. But said Rav Gamliel, what should I do? Shari Gaz Rav Yochanan Zakkai. Rav Yochanan Zakkai made a decree Shalahashiv Bezdin al Kach that we should not convene a Bezdin for this matter. In which matter is the case of Almanas Isa. This is the case of the Safek, the kid who's a Safek Chalol, because there was a doubtful divorce. And said Rav Yochanan Zakkai, do not convene a Bezdin to say that they're kosher. Why? That whenever the Kehanim would hear, oh, there's a court case about that guy, stay far away. Even if the court case was coming to say he's kosher, but the Kehanim would stay far away. So because of that, they said, don't convene a Bezdin on that matter. So what do we see? We see that Rav Gamliel in reality is learning that when we have this case of a Safek, this Almanas Isa, that she was with a man and we're not sure if he's a Chalul or not, he's not allowed to marry a Kain. And you just told me a moment ago that he is. Rava. So Rava comes along with a noob shot. Rav Gamliel lo kasha. There is no contradiction, Rav Gamliel. Hasam bari hacha shema. Because in the case of our Mishnah, she's a bari. But in this case over here, she's not sure. Of course she's not sure, because her husband's not sure, because no one knows if the original gerushin, if the original divorce was absolute. And because no one knows, therefore, it's not a bari. She's not certain, and that's why she's not believed. In our Mishnah, why was she believed? Look, she was a bari. And now Rava explains, I'll say the same answer. Hasam chad safek, hacha trace fakey. Over there in our Mishnah, there's only one suffix. But in this case over here, in the Mishnah's case, what's the question? That is this woman with a person who is kosher or not? But in the prices that we're quoting right now, there's two sfeikas. Sfeika number one is we're not sure if the guy had gerushin, and sfeika number two is we're not sure if the kid is a chalul, and therefore that's the reason why there's a differentiation between the cases according to Rabbi Yeshua. Helkach explains the Gemara. The Rav Gamliel alim le bari. Rav Gamliel holds a bari, a certain taina is so strong that even if there's only one doubt, but you're a bari, it's kosher. But kile shema, and shema on the other hand is so low, it's so weak. Tafilu b'sfek sveika nami basel. Rav Gamliel saying even a sfek sveika, even when we're not sure, even a case that we have a double doubt, as you called it, even in that case, again, which is the case of the Almanas Isa, then we're going to be puzzled. Now, we do have to point out, there's a bit of a difficulty here, is why is this a suffix faker? The way that we're explaining the case of Almanas Isa, it really sounds like there's only one suffix, and the Mefarshim here deal with exactly why in this case is called the suffix faker in the case of the chalul. But now the Gemara concludes that Rav Yeshua alim lechad sfeik. According to Rav Yeshua, one suffix is strong. That afilu bibari nami pasal. That one suffix could destroy even a bari. V'kilei sfeik sfeika that afilu b'shema nami machshir. And that's the end of the discussion between Rav Yeshua and Rav Gamliel. Why, according to Rav Gamliel, the bari works. Rav Yeshua does not allow that to work. And how we reconcile the two brises. The brise over here of the Almanas Isa, the case of a woman together that lived with a man who we're not sure if he's a chalal. Why are we not sure if he's a chalal? Because we're not sure if his mother was divorced before she married the kohen, and the halacha is that if a grusha marries a kohen, the kid is a chalal. So we have the safek chalal, and then we have, because of the safek gerushin, that's going to be different from our Mishnah, the case of a bari. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan, going a bit deeper into the case that we just spoke about, this case of Almanas Isa. Ezehu Almanas Isa. What is this case of Almanas Isa literally referred to? The Almana who's uncertain. We're not sure what her status is. We're not sure if her husband was a chalal, which would subsequently forbid her from marrying a kohen. Explains the Gemara, Koshein ba loy misham mamziris, loy misham nesinas, loy misham avdei malachim. She does not have any issues. She doesn't have any issues that the husband might have been nesin, a mamzer, or an avid. There's only one issue, that the husband might have been a mamzer. Might have been a chalal. That's the only issue. Again, a chalal meaning because the kid's parents, the mother was a grusha and the father was a kohen. The union of a grusha, divorcee, to a kohen bears a chalal. So that is the case when that chalal is together with this woman. That's the case of Almanas Isa. Amar Rameir, says Rameir, Shamati. I heard as we turn over to Yedalim Abeis, Kol she'ein ba echon mikol elu masin lekuna. If you do not have that anyone who does not have any of these, you're allowed to marry to a kohen. And of course, Rashi right away points out, Rameir sounds like he's repeating the Tanakama. What did the Tanakama say? There's no mamzeris, there's no nisin, there's no eved, then you marry a kohen. Here, he's saying the same thing. If you don't have any issue, you marry a kohen. Seemingly repetitive. And number 3, the Brisa says, so what is this case? Anyone that's together with a chalal, makir Yisrael mamzerim shebeneim makir chalalim shebeneim. Klal Yisrael knows about mamzerim and not about chalalim. And in truth, this third shita as well sounds like it's repetitious. It as well sounds like that it's a suffik chalal, which is what we're talking about the whole time. And it's a suffik chalal because we know about mamzerim, we don't know about chalalim. So it sounds like the Brisa saying the same thing once and twice and 3 times over. So says the Gemara 6 lines down, Amar Mar, let's delve into this Brisa drop deeper. The obvious implication is that if there's a potential chalal, we're still allowing the almana, we're still allowing the woman that was together with this potential chalal to marry a kohen. Asks the Gemara, Maishna Hanach Daraisa, Chalanami Daraisa. Says Gemara, I don't understand. The Isser Chalal, again, what's a Chalal when the parents have a Grusha to Koyen? That's a Din Daraisa. Says the Gemara, so same thing as a Mamzer and a Nisin and all these other cases. So why in those cases are we being Machmir, that we're not allowing her to marry a Koyen, but in the case of Chalal we're being lenient? Vesu. And furthermore, asks the Gemara, Amar Meir, Shabati, Kol she'ein ba echa mikol elu masin lekuna. Haynu Tanakama. So question number 1 is I don't understand. A chalal is daraisa, a mamzer and a sin is daraisa. Question number 1. Question number 2, Visura Meir, you're saying the exact same thing as the Tanakama. Visu, and question number 3, Rishim and Elazar, Rishim Rameir, V'chin Rishim and Menaseh, Emir Kedvar, Beis Alman is easy, Kol she'net basavi chalal makir nisal, Ma'abzir Rishim and Emir makir chalal Medeim, V'amir Reisha chalal kasher. Rishim and Menaseh sounds like, excuse me, I think I explained a little bit wrong before. Not that he's repeating the same thing. Rishim and Menaseh sounds like he's saying that there's a problem, but we're learning that a chalal is kosher. So what's going on over here? Number 1, what's the difference between chalal, mamzer, and nisin? Number 2, the Tanakam and Rameir are saying the same thing. And number 3, the Brisa is concluding that we don't know anything about chalal and we only know mamzerim, yet we just said chalal is kosher. A very troubling, enigmatic Brisa. Explains the Gemara, Amar Rav Yochanan, I'll tell you what's going on over here. Mamzer tzayveach v'chalal sheisich. Says the Rav Yochanan, you know what's going on in this Brisa? What's going on in the Brisa is a case that someone calls a man a mamzer, and he screams and he says, I'm not a mamzer. And then someone calls him a chalal, and he's quiet. So what do we do with this case? Mamzer, he screams, chalal, he's quiet. That is the case upon discussion of the 3 shitais in the Brisa. Tanakama suffer the first opinion called psul, dikaru le'vishasik, pasul. If someone calls you a psul, and you're quiet, that means you're admitting to the issue, and therefore you're going to be pasul. Din number 1 in the Mishnah of the Tanakama. V'achi kamer Tanakama, and this is what the Tanakama is essentially saying, Ezoe almanas isa, what is this case of the uncertain almana? There was never a case someone called him a mamzer and he was quiet. There was never a case someone called him a nesin and he was quiet. There's never a case someone called him an eved and he was quiet. And there was never a case someone called him a chal that he was quiet. So this is the case that the almana is uncertain and she's allowed to marry a kohen. Now Rameir is din number 2. He responds back, Rameir says, you got it almost right. But if they called her Machalal and he's quiet, then I disagree with you. They called him Machalal and he's quiet, then he's still kosher. So why is he quiet? You know why? Because he does not care what you say to him. Why? Because even if you're chol is perfectly fine. Chol can marry anyone in the world, just not a kohen. So that's why he's quiet. So the fact that he was silent when he called him a chol means nothing, says Rameir. That's how Rameir differs. The third opinion of Shimon Elazar says, Rameir, Rameir b'shtika. If you're going to tell me that Rameir allowed the case where they're quiet, it's not what the case was. You got it wrong. It's not that they called him a chol and he was quiet. Why was he quiet if they called him a mamzer? So for mamzer kolisle, he said everyone knows about mamzerim, so why should they protest? The fact that one guy's calling me a mamzer, who cares? Avol, but in this unique case, that mamzer v'tzavach, they called him a mamzer and he screamed, chol v'shasak. That's the case that the third opinion of the Brisa is saying. Pasal, that's the case that he's going to be pasal. Why? Because the reason he's quiet is because he says, who cares? Who cares? It's not sufficient. It's sufficient that they're not throwing me out of the kahal, and that's why he's quiet. What they call him a chol. But that's the reason why the third opinion says you cannot marry into the kahuna. Says the Gemara. 1 second. Tani chada Rav Yisrael shteik mamzer kasher shteik chol pasel. Tani idok shteik chol kasher shteik mamzer pasel. Asterian Brisas explains the Gemara like kasha Tani Kama lived Rameir, Rav Shimon Elazar lived Rameir. 2 different opinions. One is the second Brisa, is the first one according to Rameir. The first price is Shimon Elazar according to Rameir. Therefore, there is no stira. We'll pick it up from the Mishnah in the next year. Amir Tzashem.